Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on the Big 12 Fast Channel, Big 12 Studios. We welcome in Noah Darling, the founder of College Baseball Central. He lives in Omaha, the site of the College World Series. We've got super regionals this weekend with Kansas and West Virginia, two teams left in the Big 12. Noah, I want to lead with just we were talking earlier about all the crazy stadium fan stuff going on in Morgantown and Lawrence. Have you ever seen anything like this before when it comes to the Big 12, and what could this mean, like not just for those two schools, but in terms of putting the Big 12 kind of on the map and like, hey, this is awesome kind of way?
Yeah, you nailed it right there. It is awesome, and it's inherently Kansas and West Virginia. It's the way that those universities, those cultures, those fans operate every single day, and it's awesome to see it come together in baseball. I think you immediately think of the greatest maybe advertisement in the history of a baseball program that's been going around Twitter and wherever else in terms of West Virginia fans singing "Country Roads." I've watched that maybe 50 times in the last couple days. And then Kansas fans the last few years have made not only headlines across the Big 12, but headlines national in just the way that they're supporting the program. And they keep expanding the stadium. You see the regional when they bring in the backyard and they expand some seating down the lines, and you think, okay, this is about it. This is the ceiling. And then they get news that they're hosting a super regional, which is beyond awesome. And they say, you know what, we're going to add even more seating. I don't know how they pulled it off, but I can't wait to see it this weekend. And the support of those fan bases is so awesome in every other sport. It's great to see it in baseball.
Noah, is it safe to say that Kansas is a baseball school now?
There's certainly some history to compete against, so I've been told. I guess there's a basketball program on campus that's been all right at times. I'm not really familiar with that. I am an Iowa State fan at my heart, so I actually would like to ignore the basketball program for the most part. But the last few weeks, it's certainly been a baseball school with the crowds that they've brought in really all year. But seeing the backyard lined up with lawn chairs and other things of that nature, and it's still basketball jerseys in the crowd, so they're still switching over to baseball mode maybe 100% of the time. But when Bill Self is at baseball games, that kind of says a lot. I don't see him at basketball games in the last 3 months. So what does that tell you? I don't know.
I have to ask you this question because when we were in Kansas City for the Big 12 basketball tournament, I heard from Iowa State fans that Kansas City was Iowa State South. If Kansas makes the World Series and goes up to Omaha, will Omaha, since you live there, will that be Lawrence North?
I hope so. I hope it is because everybody knows about the Jello shot challenge, and I always say that the winner of that is actually the fan base who spends the least amount of money on a meaningless piece of Jello with alcohol in it. But I also have to mention West Virginia fans because I know that I'm in a few group chats with them, and they're already talking about breaking that very Jello shot record that LSU fans set with something like 25,000. So they're excited to get out, and Kansas fans have a 3 hour drive to make. So I would certainly compel them to make it because I know I've made that trip over the years a couple hundred times now, it feels like. So I would hope that they return the favor. It could be a pretty awesome scene in Omaha if we get either one of those schools in, and I certainly hope it's both.
Noah Darling is our guest from the Flyover League, College Baseball Central. And you wrote, Noah, nearly 2,000 words on KU's victory over Arkansas. So in terms of X's and O's, what we'll see in the series between Kansas and Oklahoma, what stood out from KU taking down an SEC power in Arkansas, and how do they do it again?
Well, when Dave Van Horn, after that Saturday win, which was the first of the two over Arkansas, says, "Yeah, Kansas outpitched us," that's not something I saw coming. From a Hunter Dietz Arkansas outing that included 14 strikeouts, his career high, he was completely nails against the Jayhawks. And then you turn around and you look at what the KU bullpen was able to do, not just Saturday, but all weekend long in support of Dom Vegley's great outing, Mason Cook's pretty good outing, and then Matisse Nayral's less than stellar outing, but again, picked up by the bullpen. So the way that they've been able to find roles in that bullpen with Ryan Ritter handing it off to Bodie Ray, and then you get an extended outing from a guy like Manning West was huge for them. That's what you need in the postseason. So that was really cool to see. If they can continue to pitch, I think that that is going to weigh huge against the Oklahoma team, who can also pitch really well. And I think that Oklahoma's kind of like a diet West Virginia in my eyes. And we all know West Virginia gave Kansas a bunch of trouble earlier this year. So that's the worry I have if there's one heading into this matchup.
Noah, I want to talk about the game that probably starts in about an hour and a half from now, and that's West Virginia and Cal Poly. They have some pretty good hitters named Gavin Kelly and Ryan Taman. What can we expect from both of those guys as these guys get ready to compete against one another?
Well, it's going to be a fun one because it's the challenge of you have to ask yourself as a one seed, would you rather, in a hypothetical super regional, face a one seed who made it through their region, maybe without being challenged, or a really hot three seed, which is what West Virginia has to deal with right now. On paper, you say, wow, what a draw for West Virginia. But at the same time, this is one of the hotter teams in the country, in Cal Poly with one of the best catchers in the country to challenge Gavin Kelly. But I look at the West Virginia offense with other guys like Armani Guzman and Paul Schoenfeld and what he's been able to do the last really 6 weeks or so, both offensively and in center field. And then a guy like Brody Kresser just feels like he does everything really nicely. And a handful of other guys like Matthew Gravelin who have played baseball just forever and Sean Smith as well. I just think they're eventually going to overwhelm Cal Poly, but we just saw Cal Poly win a regional. And UCLA was in that regional, but Cal Poly didn't have to play UCLA. Maybe that's a detriment against them. Maybe that was just a benefit of St. Mary's taking care of business. But I tend to believe that West Virginia is a little bit more battle tested and more talented. And in terms of that advantage, I kind of had to lean with the Mountaineers. But that noon start is different. I think we all wanted an evening start in Morgantown just to see that fan base riled up. But the flip side of that, you win your first two games in this super regional, whether it's Cal Poly or West Virginia, and you're going to be the first team to punch your ticket to Omaha, and that's an advantage as well.
Noah, do you think was either school KU or West Virginia? Like I know what the RPI numbers say, but were they underseeded?
They were absolutely underseeded. I remember watching the selection show and seeing. I'm not very good with foresight, so I'm not sitting there, checking names off the list and thinking, okay, here's who's left. But when we get down to Mississippi State at 14, all of a sudden it hits me. Wait a minute. We know that Kansas and West Virginia are hosting. This means that they're 15 and 16, and with that, it also meant TCU was out even before the end of the show. But either way, um, I was immediately perturbed by that because I thought Mississippi State was going to be the worst host at 16, and then I thought maybe Kansas would be around 12 and West Virginia around 14. The flip side is it seems like the committee knew what they were doing because it appears to have worked out for KU and West Virginia, who now get to both host super regionals against a two seed and a three seed. But at the same time, you can't count your chickens before they're hatched. Couple challenges remain to get to the finish line.
Noah, what do you expect to see from Chance and Cole and Max Yale?
With Chance and Cole, he's a guy that has thrown a ton of innings at the D2 level, and I think he had over 100 strikeouts last year. So there was a lot of anticipation when he was moving up. I'm interested to see him in the Friday role because I just saw a stat that he throws seven total pitches, which is an insane number for a collegiate pitcher, even a professional pitcher. But he throws a lot of sinkers, and Cal Poly hits the sinker really well. So I'm interested to see that one pitch dynamic, how maybe he uses the sinker a little bit less than he normally does, which is one of his better pitches. But then I'm interested to see how long he goes into the game. You think about the way that West Virginia used their pitching to close out that series against or their regional against Kentucky. They used all of their starters on Monday night. We saw Max Yell, who has been outstanding this season, handed off to Chance and Cole, who handed off to Dawson Montesa. That's an interesting way to win a game. It worked out for him. Ian Korn was in the mix as well on Monday night. I'm interested to see how it all translates. And with Max Yale, I would anticipate him going tomorrow, win or lose for the Mountaineers. And that's a guy that, from my understanding, he's the kind of guy who will walk up to Steve Saban and say, "Give me the ball. I want the ball. I'm going to win us this game. Don't take me out." The kind of guy you want in the postseason.
Yeah, totally. Noah Darling's with us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Who do you have in your Omaha 8, and is West Virginia and or Kansas part of that 8?
They are absolutely a part of that eight. I've got West Virginia and Kansas getting it done, and I think KU is going to come down to game three. That's just a compliment to Oklahoma's pitching, but I think West Virginia gets it done in two. And then joining them in Omaha in my ideal world, of which I'm almost 100% wrong when it comes to these things. Little Rock, Alabama, North Carolina, Texas, Auburn, and Georgia being the other six teams in there. And my main priority is getting those two Big 12 teams in because that's huge for this league. After they got no host last year, just one team in Omaha last year, which is still a good number to have for the Big 12, but it's nice to get some respect, and this is how you keep getting it.
Noah, you said you had Kansas, both Kansas and West Virginia in the 8. I have to ask about Kansas. Can you see them winning it all?
I don't know if I can see that. It comes down to pitching. You gotta when you look at how the bracket sets up on their side, you're going to have to beat at least two SEC teams, maybe even three, in your side. And we could talk about the strength of the SEC and the hyperbole that surrounds those clubs, but it's going to be a tough draw. Whereas I think West Virginia will actually have an easier draw to potentially win it all. But Kansas is going to have a very tough slate, and I don't know if they have the pitching depth to win it all. But at the same time, we've seen Coastal Carolina go on a run in Omaha in 2016 when nobody really saw that coming. We saw UCSB reach Omaha. We've seen plenty of other upsets in Omaha that make me say, wait a minute, this is still the people's sport of which anything can happen.
Noah Darling is the founder of College Baseball Central, part of the Flyover League podcast. Joins us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Had almost 2,000 words on the KU Arkansas series finale. Noah, I'd love to hear more about your story, because you told us right before we came on live that you're a criminal justice major or have that degree from UNO. I'm reading an article from News Nebraska where they're celebrating that you had your 100th follower on @CollegeBaseCNT, which now has 40,000 people following that account. So how does a guy that's part of a criminal justice degree covering baseball at this level?
Well, it started about 10 years ago when I kind of just made a Twitter account because I lived in Omaha my whole life. I've always liked college baseball, but there came a certain point when I'm watching the College World Series and I'm asking myself, how do these teams get here? How does this sport work? And that sounds kind of crazy to say now because just the way that I can talk to you about RPI is such a crazy, finish line from where that starting point was. But I thought, how does this work? And it was just kind of connecting myself to college baseball. It became kind of enthralled with Mississippi State at first and thought, man, these guys are a fun fan base. And that was kind of my gateway drug to get into the rest of it. And here I am not making a living doing it, which is fine. But with that, I'm a probation officer from 8 to 5. I'm sitting in my office right now. So that's a very interesting dynamic when I can sit and have a phone call with a coach, and then I'm talking to somebody who's going through the court system, kind of back to back there. But it's a lot of fun doing the dynamic, and I love taking a Friday off of work to go to a weekend somewhere, usually Lawrence, Kansas, the last few years. But we at College Baseball Central just love college baseball, and we do what we can without our journalism degrees. Maybe we don't have the shiniest of grammar at all times, but we like what we do, and we like being able to do what we do on the side.
I've got a journalism degree, and my grammar couldn't be worse. So, Noah, you are crushing it. Man, you guys do such an outstanding job with all of your baseball coverage. It has made me a fan. I think a lot of our Big 12 brothers feel the same way when it comes to this league. All right, what would it mean for the Big 12 if your prediction holds true and we've got KU in West Virginia and Omaha?
Well, I appreciate the kind words, James, but overall, it would be massive for this league. Just we've heard coaches talk about the difference in the way that the ACC is treated compared to the Big 12, despite the same relative success along the way. Narrowing that gap, which has already been narrowed because there are two Big 12 teams left in this thing and only one left from the ACC in North Carolina. It'd be awesome to have that discrepancy continue in Omaha. We have the advantage and then got a chance to win some games. I think West Virginia's brand of baseball speaks to the future of college baseball in the sense that they have several guys on that team that play multiple positions. You talk about Gavin Kelly, who's a catcher and a second baseman, Matthew Gravelin, who plays catcher and left field, Armani Guzman, who plays all over, but first base and right field quite a bit. Guys like that are really how you have to build a roster in the future of college baseball. And then you look at what Dan Fitzgerald does at Kansas, going and kind of doing what Indiana did with Kurt Signetti and saying, let's go find the underrated talent at the lower level. You're playing your fifth or sixth year of college sports. Let's squeeze all the juice we can out of that orange. And together, we're going to out experience every single person. We're going to out culture everybody. And that doesn't always work, but it's working right now for Kansas, and you hope that continues.
So with West Virginia, can you elaborate more on the future of college baseball with all these guys that can play multiple positions? Like I think of like positionless basketball, essentially.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's with roster limits set at 34. Moving forward, that's fewer than it once was. And now you have to ask yourself, okay, how many catchers do we have on our roster? How many relief pitchers do we have on our roster? What if somebody gets hurt? So all of a sudden you have to find a way to have not 34 guys and say, let's get four shortstops and three first basemen. Let's get two guys who can play both. And now we've got all kinds of diversity in our infield, and we can move everybody around, even inning to inning or game to game, whatever that looks like. And that's how West Virginia's built this program, it seems. Whether that was accidental or on purpose, I have a feeling it was on purpose, just the way that Steve Saban thinks ahead. And I've got a lot of respect for both of the Big 12 coaches that are remaining in this thing for the way that they're navigating a unique playing field in college sports right now.
Man, that's a really unique angle. Yeah, ball players. That's what they've got in Morgantown. Noah, appreciate your time, man. Enjoy the rest of your day and the games this weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Noah.
Noah Darling does a phenomenal job with College Baseball Central. He is the founder. They have a huge following on social media, part of the Flyover League podcast with our guy Jamie Plunkett. They are killing it. All right, coming up next, we wrap up the week that has been. We'll either do this, could have been an email, or we've got some gifts in the house. I'll leave it up to T-Chains. He's Taman, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.